I'm back again, much sooner than I expected, but I'd like to address a few topics. Today on the YouTube RPG Brigade Facebook page, there was a great deal of kerfluffle and controversy regarding Anita Sarkeesian, and to a lesser degree, Zoe Quinn. For those of you who are not familiar with this mess, Anita Sarkeesian raised Kickstarter money and did a series of videos that were highly critical of video games, at least in some aspects of it. This has earned her death threats, rape threats. She's had to flee her own home because of this sort of behavior. And quite frankly, I find it repulsive. I'll say that again. I find it repulsive. You look at this sort of thing, and in my opinion, this isn't the act of a man. This is the act of a nasty little boy. So to all of you out there who want to call me a SJW, also known as social justice warrior, or a white knight, I bear those titles proudly, because I may be that, but I am a grown-up. Okay, well, and then Zoe Quinn is a journalist who I do believe compromised herself when you read the details. I won't go into the gory details, but for those of you who are all familiar with it, you really shouldn't be covering or writing critiques of video games if you are involved with one of the developers. It's called a conflict of interest. Now, I was a journalist way back when, in the 1970s. I fully understand that. I covered small-town Florida politics in Central Florida. My first wife was a assistant city clerk in one of those small towns, so I didn't cover the town she worked for, the city she worked for. One night I had to because there was no one else, and it was difficult. But by and large, somebody else covered that. And this was a decision that both myself and my editor made. And to me, it was a very good one. It's okay, enough of that. But again, this doesn't merit rape threats, threats of violence, screaming insults, none of the above. And I simply find it disturbing, amazing that this kind of crap goes on. Now, to bring it into what I'm talking about, first of all, I've got to tell you, I don't do video games. I never have. My daughter does. My son-in-law does. I know a lot of people that do, including my wife, my second wife. They enjoy them on different levels. Fine. I simply don't. In fact, the only video game I really found interesting was Halo. And I didn't really find the game that interesting. I liked the books. And the movie, Forward Unto Dawn. Good stuff. And if they ever brought out a tabletop RPG of Halo, I'd be first in line to buy the damn thing. Hint. But what I will tell you is people in the tabletop RPG community get a little upset at Miss Sarkeesian. And in a way, I can't say I blame them, but I'm going to tell you this. To me, after my 30 plus years of gaming, they operate on different paradigms. They do. To me, video gaming is very impersonal. It's like Facebook, really. Like anything else involved with computers or the internet, it's impersonal. And it is. And Tabletop gaming, on the other hand, is very personal. You're sitting at the table with the players or your GM. You're sitting there with a group of human beings. They're not just avatars. They're not um, handles. Not much. They're human beings, warts and all. I don't know. God knows I've got plenty of them. But the fact is, there's a name and a face and a personality. So, you want to sit there at the table, get honked off at the woman gamer that's sitting next to you and threaten to rape her? Oh, yeah. You're only going to get to start that crap once in any game I'm involved in. And that's going to be the end of it. For the simple reason we do not treat other people like that. That's just not how you do it. Besides, I think if you're that much of a social retard, and I will be quite blunt with that, and you know what? I don't really want you at my table if you haven't got the basics of just human interpersonal relationships. Because that's the one thing that one of the things I really love about tabletop gaming. We may be nerds and geeks and as big a nerds and geeks as anybody, but at least most of us know how to behave. We know, we're at least civil to one another while we're at the table. I don't know. I can't account for other people's behaviors when they're not at the gaming table, unless they're good friends of mine and we hang out together, which is often the case. But even at, say, a convention game, where you're sitting there as the game master and you've got 6, maybe 8 people, you have no idea who they are. Their name's on a gaming roster. They paid for their ticket, they sit there, and they come to play. And they may be anonymous in that respect, but they're still people. There's still a presence there, and you get to know them. And I have met some damn fine people playing tabletop games. I've had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. Soon I'm going to start taking part in the online games, do the video hangouts. It's going to be something new for me, but the idea is still the same. There's a name, there's a face, there's a voice, and that makes all the difference. Now, there have been some controversies in gaming. I think the most recent one was about one of the 2 of the advisors or whatever for D&D 5th edition. But that doesn't seem to have the traction that, say, Anita Sarkeesian does. And certainly, there have been many instances of reprehensible behavior throughout gaming. Even back in the day, I know I indulged in some of it, and I'm just as guilty as the next guy of it. And I'll own the dog, as ugly as it is, but I'd like to think I learned, that I grew up, and that I learned to do better. And I've actually talked to people playing games who come in with crap attitudes, and this, that, and the other, and some of us have sat around him and gone, hey, look, this is not acceptable. You need to clean up your act, and quit hitting on the person next to you because this is not a pickup bar. Stuff like that. And I am happy to say the message got through some of the time, but that's better than not getting through at all. As far as the misogyny goes, yeah, there is. But it's up to us as game masters to handle it at our table. And it's up to us as players to handle it at our table. And that's what I like. The fact that we are a small community theater, for want of a better term. I mean, I always thought it was terrific. People say, well, your character got killed. And my answer's been, okay, well, I guess I'm going to go down to central casting and get a new part, get another role. I've joked, I have had some wonderful times around that table with other human beings. One of the first things back, I believe it was in the mid-90s when I started going online, was um, that back then it was mostly email and lists. And I can't, it's been a long time. But one of the first questions I would ask if I was talking to a woman, female, was, how old are you? So I became very aware of that back then. And I can remember one particular time I was on a Stargate forum, and I actually, uh, the post said it was from a guy, and they were asking about, uh, you know, various and sundry, I think it was like ancient queens, and I was telling the person about Zenobia, Queen of Palmyra, and all of this sort of thing. And come to find out, because she said, "Oh no, I'm not so and so. I'm his daughter." Next question I had is, does your father know that you're talking to me online? Does he know? Because I would feel much better if he did. Um, and she said, yes, he knows. He gave me permission to use his account. Sure enough, I got a message from her dad thanking me for my help with his daughter's history project at school. And I said, no worries. And that's just one instance. For me, the important thing is to treat other people like we would like to be treated ourselves. It's the golden rule. It's the second part of the great commandment for those of us that follow the Christian faith. And it's always worked well for me. That to me is one of the greatest and best things that I really love about tabletop role-playing games. And again, I will reiterate, all are welcome around my table. All. I don't care if you're, about race, creed, gender, sexual orientation. Who cares? We're all here to have fun and to take part in mutual storytelling as part of a small community theater. We're here to entertain each other. And that's how I look at it. As for what happens on the video game forums and such, well, yeah, that's a problem. But I will tell you this. I think that in terms of, behavior around, with other people, I'll take a tabletop game any day of the week. Now, I'm not putting down video games at all, just letting you know my preference. Anyway, I think I've made my point and I'm, rambled on enough. So thank you for listening, and let's go play games and have fun. I mean, why else do we do this? See you later. Have a good weekend. Play games. Have fun.